Guys, what is up? Welcome back to the channel. This engine for that truck has been sitting around way too long. It's time to get some progress on it. Let's get this front clip back off and fill up that hole, okay? We need to get that transmission out of here so we can mount it to the back of this motor. That way we know where exactly that motor is going to sit on that crown dick front end and get some motor mounts built. So stick around. Let's get this thing mocked up in that thing. Okay, as you can see, we got the front clip off, we got the hood off. We got to get that transmission out now. I do have a jack, and I got 2 jack stands, so we got 3 points of failure. Hopefully, I don't get crushed. Got the cross member pretty much is the only thing that's left holding that transmission in. So we got to get under there, take them 2 bolts out of there, figure out how we're going to hold the front of that transmission, and support the back of it as we pull it out. Which I think cherry picker in this jack stand is going to be perfect. Okay, transmission is unbolted. We're gonna take this jack, swing it around the back, support the back of that transmission, go get the cherry picker, pull the front of this out of here, and hopefully it'll be out. Hopefully. Look, there's jack standing under there. No, that is not a Wendy's milkshake. That is actually what's coming out. Okay, here we are. Transmission has been pulled out of there. Currently sitting right here. We're going to pull this bell housing, separate it from the body of the transmission. We're going to clean up the bell housing. This, we'll probably give it a little bit of a touch up, but nothing crazy. The bell housing is pretty much really all you're going to be seeing up under the engine anyways. So we'll clean that bell housing out. Get the throwout bearing swapped out, and then get it mated to this guy over here. Hopefully, then we can put it in there. Let's get at it. Now, the throwout bearing has 2 tabs on the back as well. So tab there, tab there. Those are going to clip on the inside. Well, inside, but these little tabs on the fork. And that's the only thing keeping this throwout bearing on that fork and on that shaft. See if I can show you. Tab there. Tab there. All right, so before I get that transmission put back to this motor, a couple of things I needed to do before while the motor is out is, if you look, well, there's a couple of exhaust manifold bolts still in here. What I mean by a couple is all 4 on this side and 2 on the other side. So I'm going to spend the next, who knows, 32 hours trying to figure out how to get them out. So let's get those out, then we can get that to here. All right, for you guys that are curious how I get these studs out of here, what I do is, if it's got some threads on it, I'll take a nut, just kind of weld it on there, and if we're lucky and enough lubrication and heat, that nut should just kind of back that thread out. This one it is sitting up past the flat spot, so we should be able to get a nice weld in there. Now the other side, those four were all recessed in there. So what I had to do was build that thread up, keep building up with weld till it clears the face of the head. That way, let me show you. That way this doesn't move around. If it's flush, it just kind of slides around. You don't kind of get a good seat. So that's how I pull these out. And then if that doesn't work, well, we get the old tap and die. It's really the tap and drill bit, and waller everything out. Okay, we got the motor hanging. Fingers crossed that this thing does not fall off of this stand. Previous videos, we had issues with that one. This thing falling down. So we're going to try and not drop this one. So before we do anything else, we got to make that transmission up to here. We're going to change the pilot bushing. Some are bearings, some are bushings. This one is a bushing. We're going to put that in there. After we get this one out, throw the flywheel on there, get the clutch and pressure plate on there, and then get those two together. Okay, so typically a bushing puller or any type of seal puller trying to get inside of there and pull it out takes a little bit of time. You're going to jar up and nick all these bushings. So what I do, here's the new one, is, well, bread. We're going to shove a bunch of bread inside of there, and then we're going to take, well, you need a bolt or something that is the identical diameter of this hole. I'm going to use a tap. Here's the new one. You don't want any slop in there, because as we push this bolt, tap, whatever you guys decide to use, you don't want the bread coming out the side of it. So if you look, this tap happens to fit nice and snug inside of there. And we're going to push this in as that bread's in there. And that bread should start pushing around the outsides of this bushing and bring that bushing out. Hopefully. Fingers crossed yet again. All right, doesn't matter what kind of bread. This is just Wonder Bread, Food Lion brand. I don't even know, but it's just bread. Get in there. Yep. Yep. So you see how the bread's coming out this center hole. So if you have a bolt or whatever you use and it was smaller than the diameter of this hole, all that bread's just gonna squeeze out the sides and not really do what it's supposed to. There you go. Now for the real trick, getting the bushing back in with a piece of bologna. I'm just kidding. We're not using bologna. We're just going to push it in, okay? There we go. Pilot bearing, bushing, whatever you want to call it, installed. Now let's get the clutch and pressure plate and flywheel. Okay, so it helps if you try to lock out your crank somehow, and vice grips, hitting this guide pin, that's my trick. I'm sure there's all kinds of other tricks, but that's my trick. All right, now we're missing something here. Let's get the clutch and pressure plate there. Clutch, flywheel. Let's get the transmission on. Okay, we successfully got the transmission and the motor together. Now, gotta somehow get it in that big gaping hole right there. All right, engine is in. Transmission is in its mount where it needs to be. That's gonna give me that front to back. First thing I did put a piece of wood there. It's about a 3/4 inch piece. That's gonna give me my clearance between my oil pan and my cross member. Made sure it was centered left to right in the frame. Actually just centered in the frame. All right, let's just trace the square of this motor mount. Get the center holes, looks like there. I don't want to go further out past what this motor mount is because, well, the block Y is out. So if we go too far, well, this plate's not going to sit flat. So we're going to just cut that little section out. And there's our holes. So there's a top mount, but nobody wants just a square, so let's make this thing, doesn't have to be as wide as that. We could probably take it down to, call it 3 inches. So go there and there. And nobody wants square corners, so let's just go kind of taper it back a little bit, like so. And like so. And like so. So we'll just put that plate up on the motor. Now we'll refine, tune these in a little bit. Just want to see if this even fits. Let's make a couple holes. All right, so I transferred that paper to just a piece of cardboard. It's a little bit easier to work with. Put that bolt in there. Put that bolt in there. 4 holes are aligned. And slide that down. Perfect. So now we got the plate for the block. We're gonna go ahead and cut that bottom out and figure out how we're gonna get this to angle over to that. Okay, cut a 2.5 inch square. Found the center. I'll take this bolt, put her in there. Set that in there. Now what we'll do is we'll weld this nut to this plate. That way it'll be kind of drop in and then we can put the nut up from underneath. So now we got to figure out something from here to there. Okay, I want the mount to sit just a little bit above this bolt. That way we have room to bolt this in and the bracket doesn't get in the way. Same with that, we're going to have that one sit down. So we'll take a measurement, pretty much eyeball what looks up and over. See what that looks like. So, it's really hard to do this one handed. So it looks like on the outside to the top, it's about 7.5. Let's get that look. Yep, 7.5 on the outside and 6 on the inside. Now it's a little bit hard to see. Basically what I did was about here, I don't know if you can see a little mark. From there, if we were to square that off, that would be 6 inches there, come up and over, and 7. Okay, so the bottom here is 2.5. That's our square piece we cut already out. We're gonna go up 6, that's that line there, and then this is that 7.5. So we'll go up and over. It looks like the top was 2 inches out from the outside, so here's your 2-inch mark. And on the inside, it was about 1 inch. So I went up and over 1 inch, made a mark, and this is what we're going to come up with. It's kind of number 1. So now we take the old number 1, see how close we got it. So if that was to sit on the bottom, and that was gonna hit the top, it sits, so probably can get a little bit more room on top. So probably add another 1/2 inch or so to the top. Bottom looks fine. The inside mount right there sits nice and tight up against it. We'll keep that angle. Basically, we'll just add a 1/2 inch to the top at that angle. A bit more easier to work with. We're gonna add about a 1/2 inch here. This is the angle we want to continue. We already know that this is all good, so let's draw a line at the bottom. So where it ends, see if I can get that to bleed through. I'll just punch it. Now they pretty much connect the dots. Bleed through. There's my angle. This angle to continue. There. Square it off. little bit better, a little bit taller. Let's see what that looks like. All right, boom. All right, there it is. So the bottom is squared up to it. There's the bottom of the block mount and then the top. So we extended it that 1/2 inch. Now nobody wants to just have a, at least I don't, square looking house, I don't know what you want to call that thing, mount. That looks stupid. So let's cut some edges off this and make it funkier looking. All right, that looks a little bit better. Looks more, I don't know, modern. Basically just took all the corners out, rounded the front, rounded the back. Let's see how that fits. Okay, I like that a whole lot better. Kind of curves around, kind of swoops in here. Maybe put a couple speed holes there and there. Okay, all the pieces are cut out. We've got the top plate that goes on the block. This is your bottom plate that's going to go up the Crown Vic front end, and these are the side supports. Holes for, got some pipe somewhere that's going to go through there. So the idea is, put that there on the bottom, put that there on the top, motor mount. Let's start getting this thing welded up. Gonna tack it till we get it all in there, so that way it'll kind of keep moving around. All right, that pipe's gonna work. It's gonna have a little bit of a gap, but we can get that jumped and filled. We got this all squared up. Vice is kind of holding it where we need it. We'll put the bottom one in first, that way it keeps it nice and square, and then we'll do that. I guess that would be the top one. That would be the bottom. All right. Get the weld in it. All right, here it is. So there's your bottom, there's the top, there's those holes going through. Got a nice little arch in both sides, kind of give it a little bit of character. This plate, well, this plate is going to sit like that. Somehow like that. So I'll go ahead and bolt the bottom in to the front suspension. Once that's kind of snug down, I will bring the motor to it and we'll cap it off like so. I wonder if that's not wide enough now. Okay. All right, there it is. In there, there's the bottom, got the bolt going through it. We got to put the block plate in like this. And then I went ahead and just drew some lines on the plate where it's going to sit. That's how it's going to sit. If it'll stay, there you go. So mark the lines both sides, we'll pull it back out, go get it welded up. Now there will be a back plate here. This is gonna have a plate also, but until I can get all this mocked up, I'm not gonna close that plate off just yet. All right, let's get it out. All right, here's the plate. Run the tops off, that way I know what's the bottom, what's the top, bottom, all that good stuff. So here's my top, here's my bottom. We're gonna get this plate, make sure we orient it the right way. Don't want to weld it backwards. That's not fun. All right, I'm gonna raise it up a little bit more than what my line was, just to account for this bushing I'm gonna put on the bottom here. We'll just get it tacked in, then we'll give it a double checker on the truck. All right, there you go, there's the plate. Still hot, a little hot. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and build an outside plate here. Now what I'm gonna have to do though is try to figure out how I can still access that bolt when it's in there. The idea was to have that a little bit lower, but if you remember, but we raised it up a little bit for that bushing to go in. So now, I may have to just go right underneath it here and come out and plate down. Kind of like a, let's see what we can come up with. All right, so I got a piece of cardboard. We're just gonna, whew. Kind of eyeball. There's that. And the bottom is there. Connect the dots. If I can figure out how to connect these dots. Just a little bit off. All right, that fits in there. Now, do we make this like a kick out, or do we just kind of bend it in a little bit? You gotta be lower than the bolt head of that. Can't go too much. So it looks like we're just gonna contour it. So what we'll do is, I don't know if I can still lift this thing. So it can't be too high because the head of the bolt is going to be bigger than that hole. So we'll go a little bit lower and then just kind of break it down. Kind of beat it in as we go. All right, there you have it. I took that cardboard piece strip, put it on a piece of metal. Then, in order to clearance the top, just kind of set it down lower than I could for a washer. That way there's a washer area able to get in there. And then just kind of sweeped it down with the curvature of the side of this. I have to say that came out pretty daggum good. All right, guys, that is a wrap for today's video. You saw me put the motor in. You saw us get the transmission mated up to it. Everything in the back of that transmission is good to go. We got one motor mount built. Kind of waiting on a couple parts to actually bolt it to there. Just a matter of getting down to the hardware store. We will rinse and repeat that for the passenger side. I'm thinking everybody wants to see me build the second one. Probably that's enough for this one. So thanks a lot, guys, for sticking around. Hit that like button, hit that dislike button. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. If you are subscribed, share this video out. Thanks for sticking around, guys. We will see you next time.